So February of 2023, I was diagnosed with atypical ductal hyperplasia, which are precancerous cells that I needed removed with a lumpectomy. And then I was deemed high risk for breast cancer with like a 30% chance. So that meant that every year I needed one MRI, one mammogram, and at least 2 appointments at the high-risk breast care center for the rest of my life. I only had my first mammogram in September of 21. And from then till now, I'd had 4 biopsies, 3 MRIs, 1 lumpectomy. I was going to need another lumpectomy and like countless mammograms. So by the time I got to my first appointment at the high-risk breast cancer center, I already hated my boobs and I wanted to chop them off. I had never had any clean imaging. So it was just this like endless cycle of MRIs and mammograms followed by like 2 to 3 weeks waiting for the biopsy appointment, then another week waiting for the results. And so you just sit there for like weeks and weeks on end, just terrified of what the results are going to be. And so you can't really make definitive plans or look forward to vacations because you don't know the one time it'll come back positive and you'll have to cancel everything and rearrange your entire life. I felt like I had absolutely no control. So at this appointment, I was given 3 options. Continue, as we've been going, tamoxifen, or do a preventative mastectomy. The doctors originally were leaning more towards me doing the second lumpectomy, and then if later on I had still having irregular imaging, then we could talk about the mastectomy. Well, I scar pretty badly. And I already have a pretty prominent scar from my first lumpectomy, and I really didn't want more. Like, at some point, it was going to look like I just got stabbed all over my breast. So I remembered when I was younger, Angelina Jolie had done the preventative surgery. She had tested positive for genetic factors, which actually I did not. And I just remember thinking, this is so smart. Like, why wouldn't anyone do this? So fast forward years later, and now I'm in a position where I need to make that decision. And I think back then, and I remember like how logical of a decision this was. It would give me control back, and probably most importantly, I would actively be making that choice versus like kind of being forced into that choice for survival, and that's incredibly empowering. I also could schedule it whenever I felt like, block off a period of time. I could keep my skin, I could keep my nipples, I could have full reconstruction done within like 1 to 2 weeks of the surgery. So after like telling all this to the doctors, they very quickly got on board and were very supportive of this decision. Now the mastectomy itself didn't particularly make me that nervous. It was the reconstruction. I don't know anyone who'd had a preventative mastectomy. I very quickly ruled out the deep flap procedure. The recovery time was just too long for me, and I didn't want to have more scars like all over my body from where they're trying to find fat. So I felt like I was going into this blind, which can be pretty scary because it's not like you can take it back, you know, like, never mind, I don't really like these. Can we put the old ones back in? Like, that's not really a thing. So there's this fear of the unknown. And because this was a choice, I could easily back out. But I also knew I would 100% regret that. So I told a bunch of my friends so that they would hold me accountable, and I couldn't back out just because I was scared. So I made the decision to have the surgery, and then I made the decision to do it alone. I live alone. I don't particularly like being vulnerable in front of people. Like, this is kind of already pushing it for me. And I've had surgery before. I had my wisdom teeth out. I had my tonsils out. I've had 2 nose surgeries for deviated septum, which they stick these giant tampons like up your nose, and you can't breathe, and there's all this pressure, and there's blood dripping down the back of your throat and making you all nauseous. It's horrendous. And even the wisdom teeth and like the tonsils, you can't swallow, you can't really eat. Like, these are all like really vital functions. So I just decided to prep my house. And I brought everything down from the top shelves. I laid out all like my shirts that button down, all my big hoodies to cover drains, like sweatpants, slip-on shoes. I like extended the cords on like the lights in your closet that you like pull on because I can't reach up, which was game changer. I even loosened the top of all the pill bottles because I wasn't really sure if I could do that, like push down twist motion. And so I was all set. And January 9th of this year, 2024, I had the double mastectomy. And on January 17th, I had the reconstruction. And you know what? Like, I 100% could do this by myself. Like, it went so smoothly. I was driving in less than a week. I had the drains out in less than a week after the reconstruction. I will be cleared for all activity come March 1st so I can get back in the water. And I think they look great. Like, they're actually more symmetrical than they were before. Yeah. Oh, I actually did offer to show you all too, but apparently that was not what this is about. So I guess like the message I'm trying to give is if you're lucky enough to know that you're high risk, this is a very viable option, and don't just rule it out. And it's way better than having tampons up your nose.